Find out.
The SBENU back on the blue side where they saw their initial success in Game 1. Probably don't want to pigeonhole themselves into one of those situations where a champion like Sejuani ruins their option of doing the double AD that they were so confident with, the Corki-Varus combination. I'd like to see a Sejuani ban, but we'll have to see as we shake out. Thresh is the first ban from the side of SBENU.
Yeah, same as in Game 2. So will they go for the Thresh, Ryze, Alistair bans? Once again, Kalista, same ban so far as in our last match. And there's the Cassiopeia, of course. That is one of Frozen's big champions. So will the Ryze get through, however? Gragas, and still Ryze up.
The eternal question on patches 5.10 and 5.11. Will we ever have a pick ban phase on those two patches where the word Ryze is not leveled?
Yeah, really not going to be too much of a question as it will be banned this game. But where does the Alistair come in right here? Does SBENU first pick it? LeBlanc was the final ban on red side in the last game from LZIM. They have that choice once again. Or they could try and leave it up. Frozen, an excellent LeBlanc player, but no, Sasin doesn't get that pick. The Lulu, banned by LZIM in Game 1, kind of suspiciously.
Peculiar. Absolutely a peculiar ban. Flashing through a few options. I guess we're not sure if that is a mid lane Lulu. That's where it's been prioritized recently, but for it to be banned, they must have something special to do around it.
I think that it's just because SBENU was showing a preference for running compositions around the AD carry earlier in the season, and legitimately SBENU nearly beat SK Telecom running Juggernaut. So that said, you're thinking about that threat. SBENU should just lock in the Alistair here unless they really want that Sejuani to deal with Incredible Miracle, and there is the Alistair lock. I think, yes, absolutely. Take that Sejuani and the Sivir immediately. Great call. They can take the Nautilus down the line, but this is exactly it. IM is honing in on the things that really worked out well for them in that last game. The hard engage, SBENU showed that they didn't really know how to deal with it.
And it blocks their winning strategy from Game 1, that poke comp they were running with the Varus Corki. Suddenly, it's looking like a risk too far with Sivir Sejuani being locked in. That's why I expected a Sejuani ban if they wanted to return that sort of style. We saw them try to play the very early Power Sprite comp, didn't come together in Game 2. They're at least considering the Nunu. But will we finally see this Azir? Cassio's banned, so Azir, it seems like it could definitely be a fairly safe Azir lock-in for whichever team picks it up.
Yeah, I think the Azir here, certainly something that SBENU can take very safely, but instead they're going to opt to take the Maokai. They do have some nice kill pressure in the top lane with a Maokai Rek'Sai lock-in.
So with Sivir and Sejuani already picked up, do you leave for the last pick and maybe anticipate the Azir and look for a Kassadin or something? You do have the wave clear coming through from the Sivir. Usually if you want to run Kassadin, you pick up a champion like Sivir with fairly instant wave clear. Be surprised to see a Syndra lock-in. Is Frozen a Syndra player?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes,
An old favorite?
Yes, it's like Eros Draven. Frozen is definitely a
in
Syndra.
2015 still?
Not this year. No, last year. But there's actually a very early Vladimir. Of course, this could be going in the top lane as that flex pick. I'm not a big fan of top lane Vladimir because I don't think he has the mobility to actually engage properly without Ghost, especially when he's coming in from a flank. So not my biggest love in champion select, but he can split push very well.
Gone are the days of the Ghost Flash Reaper top Vladimir that was a split pushing force. You're just forced to take the teleport, and as you mentioned, it kind of pigeonholes yourself. I believe it was, what, Distortion Boots, Ghost Flash that was the favorite, but how long has it been since we've seen a non-teleport top lane?
Yeah, and of course you could still do that with Vlad in the mid lane, which is one of the reasons why he's good in that position. But the Lulu lock in the mid lane, and that will be a Juggernaut composition from SBENU.
Okay, Juggernaut against what had started off as engaged, but now actually the Varus taken at last pick, so it is going to be the top lane Vladimir, as you suggested. The matchup's not bad against Maokai. You can pull the Twisted Advance and pop that ability.
I think that this is actually perfectly fine. This is one of those times where I'll say that I like the top lane Vladimir.
Okay.
You have such a strong 4-1. Plenty of peel for the Sivir and the Varus, and at least you have the Sivir to speed the Vlad up, even if you don't have that Ghost. So there are options here for the engage, and that 4-1, you've got the Nautilus and the Sejuani just to sit there as a meat shield in front of your massive poke and wave clear coming in from Sivir and Varus. Meanwhile, there's not really an option of who's going to stop this Vladimir on the SBENU roster.
I think there is an option for SBENU to win this game, but it's much earlier.
Yep.
Rek'Sai ganking for Lulu Maokai both have advantageous mid and top lane matchups. If Catch can play around the solo lanes, which are very, very powerful, hell, maybe even bottom lane if Vivid's on the same wavelength with a Flash Alice to pulverize. This is all about the early power spike laning phase with the strong ganking jungler and potentially maybe even getting in Tusin's phase. This is one of those games where Rek'Sai really can get on top of a Sejuani.
And not only that, but Kog'Maw going to be really hard to hit with those piercing arrows, shields, speed coming in from Lulu. So they're going to have a pretty solid siege. And so SBENU moving back to the Juggermaw, and they pull it off in the last game of this series. The IM fans always come through, don't you know? They're a small but loyal bunch, very boisterous.
Have IM been represented in every single season of
Yes.
the OGN play? Wow. Been around a long time. For once, Lilac not being represented in this lineup. Is he on the bench?
Yes.
Thank God. Needs to be in the squad. He's the good luck charm. Well, haven't had much good luck.
I mean,
he's a charm.
he's a charmer. Very nice guy.
Good English, too.
Yeah, maybe not the best top lane player, though. That's why Apple is in the starting role after a pretty interesting, and we knew what interesting means after that game one.
Mm-hmm. It was very interesting.
It was a very interesting season, spring season for Lilac. One where he was repeatedly solo killed by Duke every time that they faced off against Najin. And by the end, IM was looking a lot worse than Samsung, despite having the stronger start to the year. Now Frozen gonna be moving into that mid lane. Apple not making any kind of moves yet. Meanwhile, will be a red buff start, it would appear. Nope, just kidding. Sassen going to get the sapling. Glitter Lance clear on the little Raptors. Goodbye.
Feeling very giggly as the Lulu.
You always feel giggly as a Lulu.
It's fair. She's a lot of fun. Not to play against them.
All right, so Apple going for the Raptors first, and both top laners will be.
What ability is he using? Is he clearing it with the Tides of Blood?
He must be.
How? I didn't even know you could do that.
Well, he was. He has E skilled, so.
Does Doran's shield work on monsters?
That's a great question. I actually don't know the answer to that.
There's some homework for everyone to find out. It's surprising that you're able to jungle. Jungle Vladimir, always the dream of us jungle players, but never actually been able to pull off. Maybe we've just been starting the wrong item the whole time.
And Doran's shield, you take one camp and then recall.
I mean, that's effectiveness for you.
Well, regardless, he does get up into the top side. Doesn't take too much damage in spite of slowly killing himself with Tides of Blood while Raptors nibble at his heels.
A lot of similarity between these two champions, a lot of line wave clear, both of them balancing poke with wave clear. Obviously, advantage early for Sassen when it comes to both the auto attacks and the clear, but we've all seen the base damage from Varus' piercing arrow just gets crazy from level 9 onwards.
Catch going for an early ward here. And so he's going to try and catch Tusin out, potentially, at his own red buff as Tusin comes back with that Rangers Trailblazer. Soul taking a walk into the enemy jungle. Of course, Vlad's early wave clear, pretty atrocious. Catch wants this. He's got to get the smite. He's got to steal the red buff, get the knock up onto Tusin. Tusin has to bail with the Arctic Assault over the wall, and that pressure being used well by SBENU on the early invade. This is the risk of taking Vladimir in the early game, is that the enemy jungler has a lot of free reign on the map.
And we hypothesized this during the champion select. With the strength of the lanes, both Lulu and Maokai easily able to push up, no risk whatsoever to come and help catch, steal away that buff. Now it looks like Sarsen's also going to be donated a blue buff to ensure that this mid-late wave will be permanently pushed up until you get enough levels into the Varus. This is some very nice early rotational play coming through from SBENU.
And Catch too, the onus is on him right now to make the most of the pressure that he's going to be receiving, because there is no way that Tucson should be allowed to walk into his topside jungle under present circumstances.
Tucson is able to pick up a camp down the bottom lane. Realistically going to want to farm, so expect Rek'Sai to have what is already inherent, but in this game going to be exemplified pressure advantage when it comes to the lanes. We're waiting to see how they're controlled. Lulu's going to get a free shop, so awkwardly going to lose a bit of blue buff duration, but just trying to pick up early power, and it's a tier versus a Fiendish Codex. So definitely early advantage, Sarsen.
All right, so let's keep some eyes on Catch right now. What is he going to do? Apple just having that very low amount of wave clear, not great trading abilities before he hits 4 or 5 points in his queue either, so he's got to be somewhat worried. He is keeping up in terms of CS, and now the Rek'Sai actually walking into the bottom side jungle. I think you could play this much more aggressively.
I agree. You can see Lulu's already aggressively on this map. Be there with her. Be trying to put down wards, deny the Raptors, deny those important camps from the Sejuani. If Sejuani gets a free farm on, Longzhu should take this as the game goes on.
Yeah, Nuclear and Vivid starting to walk into the bottom side. They just want a ward there at the blue buff, but there should be no way that Catch allows Sejuani to farm up here. He's going in. There's a Chilling Smite. Will they flash for it? No, they will not. Catch gets the flash out of the mid laner, but doesn't flash himself.
But this is where Lulu and Rek'Sai should be a duo. You've already seen Nuclear and Vivid push up bottom lane, go and put down a ward. Maokai has the same options to go put down wards. Ensure that Sejuani is made accountable at every camp she picks up. Make her come to the mid lane and sap experience away from Frozen. Never let her get free camp.
And against Varus and against Vladimir, I'm almost of the opinion that you go Warrior Enchant Rek'Sai this game and just play a super punishing style of League of Legends where you go all in. You trust that Saucin, now level 6 with Wild Growth, will be able to give you the HP you need to survive on some of these ganks. And just set your solo laners up for success. Instead, there's a Ruby Crystal, and I'm sad.
It's pretty disappointing to see that not enough players really open up the flexibility of the Warrior Enchant. Of course, we saw Ambition, Rocket in the Lee Sin versus Sejuani matchup with the Warrior Enchant Lee Sin. Yesterday, we saw Watch play the Cinderhulk Lee Sin that I know you're not a fan of, but tried to play a pure peel role. I think in this game, I agree, the late game is just so horrendous. Vladimir, Sejuani in the late game is going to be just so much to deal with that double down on early game, and you're just going to have so much utility and shields in the late game to make up for the lack of early health.
Well, if you can set them behind two, they won't be able to get their siege rolling, and it is not that hard to group his 5 with the Juggernaut composition, have Lulu lay down all of those buffs onto Kog'Maw and out-siege this composition. You can put down the poke as long as their power spikes have been delayed.
It's been a long time since we've seen a pure Juggernaut. We've seen, you know, we kind of had to debate the use of that particular term because we've seen rumbles in the top lane, multiple threats, but this is really a pure one-threat comp unless Sarsen really gets going, get maybe an early Lich Bane or a big amount of snowball ability power. Going to be very positioning and reliant. Nuclear is one of those players, along with Sarsen, that you've singled out on SBENU as maybe someone you could build this team around. Is he up for such a big task, though?
Well, he was, and I think why they're going back to this is because they were so close to making it work against SK Telecom. They were so close to taking that big upset win, even if it was only a single game, and they crumbled late, but early on they really looked like they were taking every advantage, able to use it, able to group with a difficult-to-use composition and get the poke down they needed.
So he's going to happily get through the laning phase. 9 CS behind a Sivir, but obviously not going to be a big concern. Frozen has blue buff in level 7, so now much better at being able to control the wave, although he misses, I believe, all 3 CS on the screen. Very awkward.
Of course, that's where the screen has to come. Catch actually punishing Tucson for face checking that brush, and will remove his ward. At the same time, another one dropped right outside of the... Oh, he's actually going to be able to get that. Oh. So close. That nails it at the end. Oh, he had a pink ward. He dropped a pink ward in the brush. Never mind.
The no free camp should extend to Scuttlecraft as far as I'm aware for the Rek'Sai. Vivid takes a lot of damage. Raw has to walk away. She got poked out, did the Sivir. Activates the ultimate, not going to be able to get much. And Nuclear being at full health means probably going to have the wave control advantage as the second red buff.
Tucson there, but Catch going to eat a Chain of Corruption. Apple comes in, Wild Growth onto Catch. Can he actually make it out? I don't think so. And that is a very important kill for Incredible Miracle as the first blood goes to Frozen. They did not apparently have enough control over the mid and top lanes to make the collapse as quickly. Soul still hanging out in the top side.
But bizarre that at level 7, level 8, Lulu and Maokai respectively couldn't push up and allow a free invade for the Rek'Sai. So Rek'Sai doing her job, trying to contest and get in the face of Tucson is punished in a massive way, and suddenly going to be so much slower to actually fight for these camps that's what she needs to do in the early game.
Okay, well still, Nuclear and Vivid doing a good job of turning up the heat in the bottom side at the very least. They're going to deny some camps, or some minions rather, from Roar.
Ignat's picking them up, it's getting big.
That'll be helpful at the very least to kind of even out in terms of that CS.
I'm surprised that, honestly, Cog Alistar, not really a known 2v2 lane, has been able to have so much lane control, been able to push very aggressively. Obviously don't have as many instant wave clear options compared to Sivir, but I guess maybe it's just an extension of the jungle matchup. They know they haven't had any Sejuani pressure on their side of the map, and they have to worry about Rek'Sai. Yeah,
and that Rek'Sai too, with the repeated invades and the fact that Tucson was having some trouble earlier on in this game, may make him play a little bit more passively, and especially now that it's Sheen and post 6 time for Kog'Maw, this is really where he shines, and the shorter range on that Sivir not going to be able to easily handle that, and if you try and go in, well, that Alistar just plays defense, and oh wow, the knock up right there, there's the spell shield, but still the Bioarcane Barrage, nearly getting the kill. Heal will keep Roar alive.
And the kill pressure is confirmed with the Phage and Sheen Bai that you mentioned. It's just the fact that they got there so evenly. That's the surprise to me. I expected a 15 CS disadvantage, potentially some chip damage onto the turret, but being able to free push as Kog'Maw against Sivir, I mean, we saw that wave multiple times. Whenever we walked down to bottom, it was Kog'Maw pushing in on the Sivir.
And have they set themselves up for an attempt at the Dragon right now? The matchup, Apple level 9, this is going to start to push the other direction at this point as IM gets that first kill. They are even in gold due to some a little bit of CS disparity, but it's mostly that kill doing all of the work right there for IM's advantage, that first blood. And will they start to shove forward? Will they start to use this power spike that they're going to have in terms of the siege?
The siege and the split. We have to talk about Vladimir kind of running
That's
over
very
Maokai
scary right
in terms of the CS. Is 6 CS ahead despite only now getting level 9. Doesn't hit his peak to what, level 12 or 13 when you max out Tides of Blood and have almost instant wave pushing, especially if you pick up the Abyssal Scepter. Level 5 Tides of Blood will instantly push down a wave. They've had wave control in bottom, surprisingly in this 2v2, and the re-engage comes in, but the combo, not there from Vivid.
Couldn't hit it, even though the TP was coming in right now again.
These SBENU teleports, but they're getting at the Dragon, so that's something.
Yes, they are, but they would have gotten it anyway, considering how much damage had already been done. The TP, unnecessary from Soul. Now TP advantage to Apple. Are they going to go for this? Vivid draws a depth charge. Hook misses.
Well, they lose interest on Vivid. They must have the time, but they catch, actually. Falls down super low, but able to tunnel away. We knew that Vivid will fall down, but they don't get catch as well. 1 kill for a Dragon. Probably take it if you SBENU.
I think you definitely do right now. Frozen actually, Soul coming over the wall with the flash. Sassen on the follow, and Frozen walking in a dangerous corridor finds himself the target of a twisted advance.
That was actually a really sick play coming out of Soul to get that pick. just really smart and understanding his damage potential. Now it's a kill trade and the objective, so a big win for SBENU in that particular situation. Apple going to be happy to just walk back to top. He's got the 20% Spellvant coming through now with the Will of the Ancients, and the pressure is going to start to get to Maokai.
Well, and Apple actually did use his TP in the end also, and that's just one of the things about top lane Vladimir, barring the fact that you can't take the Ghost. He's only really good for split pushing because who is afraid of a top lane Vladimir showing up in your lane levels 1 through 8? Vlad really can't do much, especially also because he doesn't have Ghost. How is he going to stick to a target? You basically have to have hard CC in that lane. If he's going to gank, I would much rather have a Maokai showing up in some of these fights, and SBENU showing why just a little bit right there.
And you'll recall in game 1, I was optimistic about the teleport home guard Ryze flanks. The teleport home guard Vlad flanks, they're not even a thing. He's not able to do anything like that. Maybe with the Rylai's if it's picked up early for a bit of pick pressure, but realistically, Vlad gets teleport just so he can teleport early to help group and pick up vision and deny vision. He is not a real CC threat. You expect CC when you see those teleport home guard ganks, and just not a reality from Vladimir.
So this means that Apple really has to focus on pushing this lane. Soul's still doing okay in terms of his trades with him, but Apple will get a whole lot of health back. Has that Will of the Ancients now, and just needs to drive that minion wave into the turret every time. Try and force Soul to use a lot of mana on him. He doesn't have that mana sustain yet, no catalyst. And he's going to have to recall.
Suiting Nuclear though in the bot lane. He's getting completely ignored. Trinity Force acquired with no, I mean the power spike's actually there. Trinity Force versus not even an Infinity Edge after going for that Avarice Blade as Raw. So there's a lot of power around the bottom side. It's probably why we see Rek'Sai tending towards the lane. We've already seen almost a Solica come out multiple times from Nuclear in this particular lane. So look, it's Juggernaut, so you always have to check in on how powerful that Kog'Maw is. He's certainly gotten going in the early game.
He has, and this may justify that Lulu ban that IM really wanted in game 1 of this series. They took out the Lulu, and now SBENU Nuclear having to flash after the depth charge. Here's the Void Rush. Ignar gets punted under the tower, but they'll back off with the Sivir ultimate. No one able or willing to commit fully to that. Of course, Catch showing up instantaneously.
And will IM be able to take advantage of the fact that suddenly Nuclear doesn't have flash, so he won't be able to play as assertively in lane as he has previously. Maybe this will be the opening for them to control this dragon area, just push in with Reckless Abandon. There's the ultimate though, Vivid's caught. He's going to die in the front line. Will they get onto Nuclear? They actually use flash for it. 2 members flashing in. Tucson tanking the turret. One more auto, he'll fall down. Cancels the auto that would have killed Tucson, and they don't even take down the Sejuani.
Still double kill right there for Roar. Finally, Catch with a Prey Seeker will finish off Tucson. So they trade 2 for 2. Actually, in the end, they wanted that dive to help shut down this Kog'Maw, and they saw that Vivid didn't have the Unbreakable Will up, so they were willing to take in a risk and go all in, but it doesn't really pay off. Frozen gets whimsied right here. There's the Wild Growth knock-up, and he can't actually finish off that kill. Sassen with just a sliver of mana left.
I mean, the other factors consider is that, of course, Raw lived through that whole engaged bot, got free time with the turret, took it down very confidently. Of course, when you have the Sivir W, the Ricochet, you're able to take down structures very, very fast. So they get the objective for the kill trade. Good move from IM. They needed to make an assertive play to use that Sejuani, and they did it well.
And still, Apple just untouched, constantly pushing the minion wave into this tier 1 in enough time. He's going to get it on that Vlad and starting to make a difference in terms of a CS advantage right now, going 20 up, that he has so many options for clearing this wave right now. You can see keeping those Tides of Blood stacks and relentlessly marching forward. Soul playing defense, but it's a tough call when you have to take some damage from the minion wave. The nice thing about Vlad is that he spams spells all the time, so at least you have your Maokai passive up constantly.
But Vlad basically got a shop whenever he wanted. He was probably sitting on a mound of gold, actually going a very defensive build with the Spectre's Cowl. Not even the Abyssal Scepter to give him a bit more wave pushing advantage. We're finally seeing this Juggernaut group in the mid lane. They have the Trinity Force. They have good turret siege potential. But with Tucson having the ultimate up again, they're just trying to ward their flanks and get some safe time to clear wards.
Well, they want to actually contest this next dragon and try and make it number 2 for them. It's very important that they take these dragons now so they can continue to dictate the tempo of this game. And now looks like Nuclear just clearing out the bottom wave. They're just going to straight up give it up.
With Nuclear in that position, there's no way to contest. Catch is only there for a courtesy. Maybe going to look for the really optimistic steal, but with the Prey Seeker, never a reality. So free Dragon goes down to IM. Dragon is a win condition for this SBENU comp. Was always going to be a bit optimistic, just given how much mid-game power was coming out of this IM lineup. It's the poke wars that we really didn't know about. So do they have enough wave clear with the Lulu? At least at this point, it seems the answer is yes.
Yeah, they're going to take out these minion waves. So no threat from IM in taking a double objective, wrapping back around. But Incredible Miracle has a pretty solid gold lead starting up for them.
Sejuani's behind in CS, but still very competitive. Has the Cinderhulk, the Sidestone. That's the early game core we're expecting. Probably going to be the Aegis, as far as we can tell, as the next item, just to get some of those base magic damage values down. Apple delaying damage, the real big peculiarity to me. What is rushing him to force this early Spirit Visage that we're expecting with the Spectre's Cowl?
I think he just wants to be able to split push against this Maokai and keep himself topped off at all times with the Spirit Visage. And, I mean, obviously it's a bit questionable if he wants to get into a team fight. He's just not going to have the damage to be a threat to the Kog'Maw, particularly with all the shielding that Lulu is going to do for him.
That's not to say that Spirit Visage is a bad Vladimir item. It's fine, it has its place.
It's a good item.
But as a second item, when you're not really under any pressure whatsoever, you do have other damage threats in your team. Even Sejuani is a very decent damage dealer in the mid game, so maybe just feeling that he wants to put out consistent damage with the stacks rather than necessarily any semblance of burst.
I think they just want to continue to split up the Juggernaut as best they're able and keep the tank away from this. Here's a dive going down. Catches in the back alongside Vivid, but Frozen's kiting this out. Twisted advance onto Frozen. He gets popped in the backside. Apple's here, however, chasing him up, gets punted out. But the Kog'Maw and the Lulu are dead. Tucson here now, no ultimate. Chasing down Soul. Here comes Roar.
On the hunt's used, they're going to just follow on to Soul. Twisted advance to the Scuttle Crab, and a flash will open up enough space. It's a 2-for-2 trade, but the moment that crucially the Kog'Maw goes down, everything SBENU can do just dissipates.
Yeah, no more damage at all coming out of their composition. Meanwhile, the follow-up very good as IM darts after them. Soul deciding to try and actually defend this tower in the top side. There we go. That'll be Catch returning to lane, but Apple gets some really good damage down, and this turret is inevitably going to be destroyed by Apple. How long is it going to take? 1 wave, 2 waves? Red wave, blue wave?
I haven't heard that one.
There it goes.
Doesn't do a Frozen and leave the turret up longer than he needs to. Happy to keep pushing. We don't expect Vladimir to group until absolutely necessitated by what Soul does. They're going to match their teleport timing, so expect the pushing to continue. We're still building to this point where Kog'Maw hits specifically his 2-item spike with the Blade of the Ruined King and is a very fearsome teamfight force, but with the consistent damage coming out of top, it's a different type of team for this Kog'Maw to deal with, and the base values and consistent damage, if they can't peel away the Vladimir, is another thing that maybe the standard Juggernaut that was so popular last season can't necessarily account for.
Well, a lot of the reason why the Juggernaut fell off is that when we have a champion like Sejuani, well, you're in this weird place, whereas Kog'Maw, you have to stand in the front.
Yep.
And you're just going to get hit by a Glacial Prison or a Chain of Corruption, and that's it. Doesn't matter. If you can't use that Whimsy, it's going to be really, really difficult to stay alive, even through a Wild Growth, even through the shields. So it's become a lot more challenging. Here we go. There's the slow. Kog'Maw still up, however. Unbreakable Will goes down for the Alistar. They're focusing the Alistar down anyway. Tucson gets in front. Wild Growth, a little bit wasted right there, actually. They need that Wild Growth if they want to re-engage.
But they'll back away. This will give IM exclusive Dragon Control, if they want to choose it, they have multiple sight stones to be able to put down vision. The Wild Growth, as you mentioned, completely wasted. 100% Alistair was going to die in that situation with no flash available. There was just no damage coming through from Nuclear. It's always the downside of the Juggernaut comps. You need to position the Kog'Maw at the front, not the Alistair.
And you need to hold the Wild Growth for the Kog'Maw because you must have that ability up or else you cannot team fight. As we see Apple again engaging in that 4-1 split push. Moving forward now, they want the last outer turret. They're going to get it. Tucson shows up for the objective.
You mentioned one of the central reasons that Juggernaut fell away. The other one was just the meta changed in terms of top laners. When you're against Lissandra, a burst champion, the extra health and shielding was enough to just completely negate their whole kit. When it's a consistent damage dealer like Vladimir, sure, health and shields and effective health are always going to be relevant. With the shift towards sustained damage from the likes of Cassiopeia and Vladimir have really come into the meta, it's so much harder to pull off the Juggernaut.
It's also, you want those long-range pokes, right? And so when you have a high HP target or a target with a lot of sustain,
sure,
you can re-engage after the Bioarcane Barrage is down.
The poke doesn't stick on a Vladimir like it sticks on a Lissandra.
Definitely not. Well, defense mounted in the mid lane. Frozen having no trouble clearing out what remains of those minion waves. He's going to be getting very close to his Muramana right now. I'm surprised he doesn't already have it.
At 25 minutes, quite a late timing. I didn't see when the tier was picked up. I believe it was super early. Has the option of picking up a BF slot he wants, but probably just going to be the last Whisper to have all the armor penetration. Roar is the big factor here. He's been completely untouched, 4-0-0. Ceded lane control to a Kog'Maw, but certainly has reaped the reward in team fights.
And also bounced back with a big farm advantage as well. So his wave clear has managed to put him ahead of Nuclear in this battle. Nuclear struggling to get that Blade of the Ruined King at the moment. Still not finished yet as a second core item. Roar closing in on that last Whisper. He should be getting that quite soon.
And Frozen's hit the item timings that we know every Varus player loves to hit. The double armor penetration items, the mirror mana completed.
Goodbye,
Catch gets caught, he's dead.
And where's the follow-up? Can they get Sauce in as well? There's a Wild Growth. TP coming in from the side. Frozen snags one. Apple showing just how bad Vladimir with TP is. Thank you.
Yeah, even with the on the hunt, nothing he can do. No Rylai's for any sort of pick potential. Do LZM want to back off towards the Baron? Do they just want to keep pushing? The pushing option seems the safer one. And what is SBENU to do? Lulu's completely out of the fight.
Well, they can poke from the backside with this Trinity Force. Tucson getting caught out a little bit. He's going to go down to the Kog'Maw. Actually, Vivid takes the kill in the end, but now they're able to push back just a little bit. Roar on the side. Roar very low, and he's getting poked out. There's the Whimsy Kog'Maw. He's on to Roar still, and Roar forces the flash. No mana onto Nuclear. Sidesteps, and he gets surrounded after over-pursuing. Kill for Apple.
Went too far in, of course, had the Whimsy, felt the kill, could smell it, but the flash still available from Roar. Falls down. The Noble Tree also couldn't survive that particular fight. Didn't get a lot of chip turret damage down, so good defense mounted by SBENU, but Apple's going to return to the split push.
Well, as he should at this time. He should just keep on with his split pushing ways, at least for the moment. Like you said, without that Rylai's, there's just nothing he can really do by TPing into these fights. It's honestly better for him just to walk in afterwards, to push up a lane, let his team 4v5, and then walk in behind a turret and clean up whoever's left, than it is for him to be at the front of these fights where there's just nothing to be done.
The awkward factor there is that you either kill Kog'Maw or you lose a fight. That's kind of how Juggernaut comps eventually shake out, so he probably feels pressured to be involved in some semblance of backline threat. It's just, with these items, doesn't really exist. Probably going to be Zhonya's next. Maybe then you can just look for a flank, show up in the backline, and try and do damage, but the build just doesn't really do what it needs to when it comes to team fighting, at least till 4 or 5 items.
We'll see where he goes. At the very least, with the Zhonyas, he'll have that chance to get the double pool off during a fight, which will lend more CC to his kit.
Turret one hit away in the mid lane, which would have maybe push the gold lead down to about 5,000, but still sitting at almost 7,000, 6,500 comfortably is the lead. Against Juggermore, the traditional acid test was, can you break the base, or will the Juggermore outscale you? I don't think it's quite as linear as that in this meta, and now you have champions like Varus, and in this case the Vladimir, pushing into contention. Do they still have this late game 4-5 item power spike that LZIM won't be able to contest?
I think that's very unlikely, actually, just given what we're seeing from this game, and given that the amount of hard CC that IM is loaded up on here versus the Juggermaw, something is going to land home, especially now that they have a Righteous Glory as well. They may just try and start this Baron right here. There is the sound of the Void Rush. There is a scrying orb to discover that I am not actually starting this Baron.
Actually, cutely, Frozen just shot off an arrow in the direction of Baron in the hopes of bluffing that they were doing the Baron and forcing the Rek'Sai to come in. This time, though, they're actually doing it. We're not going to see the health bars. At 8,000 health, still pretty healthy. Catches in the area, but there's so much CC that how do you actually even get in range?
Yeah, there you go. Easy Baron completed. Catch tied up with the depth charge. Chain of Corruption already onto Soul. They're turning onto him right now. Soul has no backup, and eventually dies in the middle of the melee from Incredible Miracle. That'll be one kill for Roar.
Nuclear had finally got enough gold for the Blade of the Ruined King, then crucially shopped just as Baron was being rushed down by M. Nothing that SBENU could do, just a free kill they pass over with Soul, who can teleport back in if they bide 25 seconds. I think you just send Apple back on split push duty now with the Baron buff. Those minion waves will die instantly.
There is no reason for Apple not to be top lane right now. Pushing up. Instead, with their excellent 4-1 and their Baron, IM will recall. This is so IM.
That's so IM. It used to be That's So Raven, then it became That's So Draven, now it's That's So IM.
It just, Frozen apparently needs this farm, in spite of hitting all of his relevant
You know he called away.
spikes.
You know for sure he called away Apple. Apple was walking towards him.
I'm just curious what he thinks he needs right now. A Bloodthirster?
BF sword, man.
Apparently.
It's not enough that they have insane base values on the Q. Definitely needs the BF sword to back it up. As Vladimir picks up the Zhonya's and now will be a very real backline threat. Probably just going to go Void stuff from this area, even though his AP values are not that high.
Even if... The question is, yes, Zhonya's is useful if you can get that angle. So after pushing forward, they give Soul some time to reverse that pressure in the top side. And very uneven lane pushing right now from Incredible Miracle. This could be... I mean, does IM just need like 2 to 3 Barons to win every single game?
The evidence and the balance of evidence says yes, Monte Cristo. And awkwardly, you know, Sivir goes bottom, pushes up the wave like she needs to. With no pressure around the area, gives Kog'Maw more free farm. Okay, they lose a dragon, but 5th dragon is again going to be 43, 44 minutes into the game. If you just free push farm into the Kog'Maw, hits a 3 or 4 item power spike, suddenly these team fights, the victor looks so much more nebulous.
And IM here, they have a Vlad with the warding totem, so they should be able to safely push this, especially as they drive down into the bottom lane, but Apple playing a bit cautiously in this top side.
They actually do cut through the enemy jungle, obviously not really respecting any wards or pick potentials. They get to these objectives much faster. They pick out and out a turret. Okay, good work, IM. At the same time, pushing in the top wave. So far, so good. It's just, they love picking up a small advantage, then just backing away.
Or bouncing from lane to lane where the waves are just not prepped right now. Looks like they're going to walk all the way across the map to take a blue buff. This is such awkward sieging from an exceptionally good 4-1 split push composition from Incredible Miracle.
I guess not too surprising though, given their unfortunate lack of pedigree when it comes to map movements. Definitely not being at all their strong point. Pushing into the mid lane. They could be doing some turret damage here. Raw's respecting a lot. Finally does start free ordering. They get the turret and they can back away.
Can they transition this into anything else? A lot of the other waves have been cleared out. The Baron buff is now gone. Wow. So 2 towers off of a Baron here at 30 minutes.
Hey, the 3rd dragon also.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, it's not breaking the base, and A lot's changed about League of Legends since Ku Tigers, or at the time Huya, popularized the Juggernaut comp. But yeah, not breaking the base does open up windows for this Kog'Maw to get strong enough. Last Whisper will be the next pickup. Still probably not going to be doing a lot of relevant damage to either Vladimir or Sejuani with just that item. If there is an Infinity Edge, it seems like there might be a chance for the Juggernaut.
With perfect positioning from Nuclear, I agree, but we've also seen that Sasin is having trouble designating the right targets for his abilities in some of these fights, instead just showering them upon Vivid, whether he needs them or not.
Yep, that's true. I got nothing.
Well,
I just dream the dream of an IM team that knows how to play around sideways.
Wow. Well, may not happen for you this season, and will they learn how to siege this Tier 2 as well? Again, they can siege it so well with threatening Sejuani around the back, and they don't have to take much poke here. They could even have Roar in the front and move both Sejuani and Varus around the backside because they have so much disengage between their two ultimates. Vladimir could auto the turret right now, but isn't.
The teleports come in from Maokai, has the home guards, they're looking for a pick, but Civ is too fast, he can't get onto the back line. Vladimir should just be pushing down a turret, but instead kind of awkwardly moves between mid lane and bottom lane, not getting any turret damage down. They're in the perfect spot here. Get turret damage down if you're Vladimir to justify, again, another poor teleport.
You can TP if things start to go badly. Catch coming in, he's gonna get the knock-up. There's the TP from Vladimir. Vivid in the middle getting a big, big knock-up. And look at the Hemo playing on the back line from Apple. Apple just going nuts as the team commits to that engagement. Double kill for Frozen. Ace courtesy of Roar. And now they get the fight they needed. And Apple could have waited for that one on the last one as well. They still get the big team fight victory and they push forward. They should be able to take the game.
Yeah, look, they had to wait for an engage from the enemy team, so not proactive play once again, but at least they were smart in returning the Vladimir bot, forcing in an engage from the Rek'Sai that could only go poorly. They're tanking it up a lot. Well, not that late in the game, but with 4 members, they should be able to finally finish out this series after what was a very dire straits for them in the middle of game 2.
Yeah, barely eking this one out. 2 seconds left on Nuclear. It's not going to be enough. There's the GG. IM wins the series 2-1. Just snatches it out right at the end. I'm glad to see a decisive team fight at long last, but man, IM, they really have to learn a lot about that juggling act in terms of turning on the heat and closing a game.
And familiar problems reared their head for IM. Very much the same IM that were narrowly pipped out by KT Rolster, finally overpowering a SBENU line. But it's going to be happy to register their first victory. The Juggernaut, it didn't work. The mid-game comp in game 2 didn't work either. The moment that IM moved towards the Sejuani, moved towards the hard engage, SBENU just didn't really look like they had a window into winning a game.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there it is. Win for IM after that last one. And a nice game from Tucson, too, who had